Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are about to debunk two of the biggest myths in the RV industry. And both myths we're going to debunk have to do with one word. And this one word is going to trigger a lot of people where I'm going to get a ton of negativity in the comments, probably some threatening emails, direct messages, nothing I'm not already used to. Kind of used to that already. But what I will say is this: whatever I talk about here, and when I use YouTubers as an example, I'm not bashing, trashing, or talking crap about anybody. We are going to have a really mature conversation about the word quality. Welcome to HB RV Lifestyle, the podcast. I'm the host, the Honey Badger, here to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business, as well as some other things. Now, what I want to start with is this podcast and channel have been dedicated and has been dedicated and will continue to be dedicated to the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to the RV industry. I'm not afraid to talk poorly about stuff I sell. I'm also not afraid to talk great about stuff I don't sell. I try to be as fair as possible. When people deserve a little bit of a thrashing, I give it to them. When they deserve praise, I try to give it to them. So that gives you some context if you're fairly new to this. Let's say, because I've seen a lot of people lately are like, hey, I just found your channel. Hey, I was told about your channel by some neighbors or whatever. Word of mouth is starting to spread. So it gives you a little context, or I should say some texture onto how I'm going to talk. Now, there are two myths that are on a pendulum, and they have to do with the phrase that Lil Wayne says in the song She Will, which is, I went to pay attention, but attention paid me. Let me say that again. I went to pay attention, but attention paid me. That is our biggest problem in the RV industry, and why I can debunk the myth that RVs are built really well and RVs are built like crap and are junk. So I can debunk both because both are not correct. What has happened over the last 10 years, starting with Grand Design RV mostly, is marketing has started to turn to social media in a big medium to fight against some of the Quora and Reddit and blog posts of the past during the Yahoo AOL days, even back in the day where you had Ask Jeeves. If you remember who Ask Jeeves is or what Ask Jeeves is, let me know in the comments section, because I want to see if everybody remembers that. But those were the days where you blogged. You were in instant message rooms or AOL chat rooms. Those were the main magnets of anything that was positive or negative, mainly negative. Now, what I will start with and make sure you understand is my belief today is that negativity runs the internet. There's three things that sell big on social media. One is somebody shaking their booty half naked, man or woman. So a bunch of thirst trap, try to get your money, try to get your subscription with OnlyFans. Then there's all the political kill each other, hate each other, baloney and malarkey. And then everything's a pile of crap and the world's falling apart. Those are three things that sell the most on the internet and get the most attention. If you actually go look, when somebody talks about a charity being donated, I'll give you an example. Let's say a wildlife preserve gets donated $300 million by Elon Musk. That'll get put on the back burner to Elon Musk called some guy a racist slur. We could have LeBron James donate his entire fortune to scholarships for African American schools across the entire US, Canada, across the world. But as soon as LeBron James says something about some girl's butt, that actually gets more news than him donating his entire salary. So I want to preface it that negativity sells. So what has happened over the last 10 years is marketing companies and marketing strategists have decided to swing the pendulum the other way, where everything's so perfect and beautiful and nothing is wrong. This is a common denominator in boats, cars, houses, televisions, game systems, computers, cell phones. So you have this big swing between positive and negative. And the two myths are that nothing will go wrong and everything will go wrong. When the truth is, it's actually in the middle. And the biggest issue that I'm seeing in the foreseeable future is the fact there isn't enough people in the middle ground that get enough attention on the internet. I'm not going to blame Liz Amazing or Josh the RV Nerd. I'm not going to blame Wingman Wisdom or Miles RV. Not going to blame them. First of all, Liz Amazing helps a lot of people and makes a shit ton of money. And it's free money just hanging out there. If you take the Mr. Beast math, which is how many dollars per 1,000 views they get, Liz Amazing's making between $45,000 and $65,000 a month, folks. And she deserves every penny of it. She's making $600,000 a year plus with that YouTube channel. But it's full of negativity. And we never really ever hear the actual both sides of the problem. We don't get to hear it. We get to hear one person's side. Now, that is a completely different problem, but I'll mention a small problem of it, and we'll talk about that in another episode in depth. But that's a problem with the PR system of the manufacturers. The PR system is, let's just put blinders on and ignore that Liz Amazing even exists, instead of attacking the problem. So it's a two-way street in that respect. You know, just basic. It's just like a lot of people, I've used this example in the last couple of days, is another example is, yeah, I'm not a fan of Brinkley RV. It's not because I don't think it's a nice looking unit. It's not because I don't think they do a lot of things well. I've actually complimented Brinkley on a lot of things they do well, but of course everybody focuses on the negative stuff I say. See, there's the example right there. Nobody remembers how much credit I give them for non-waste of space. And that's a huge compliment, because there's a lot of times where if you go into most travel trailers and fifth wheels, there's a lot of blank spaces. I think Brinkley does an amazing job filling that gap and giving you proper storage. I think they have a really unique, slick look to them. But nobody remembers the positive things I say about Brinkley. Everybody remembers the negative things. I mean, just look at the fact that there's a guy that sat in a $200,000 car calling me a blowhard and crybabying about all the negative stuff being told about his brand. When in reality, actually, one of the people he was calling a blowhard actually gives a lot of compliments to his brand, but also talks negatively when you talk about things like water intrusion and start giving percentages. Notice nobody gives percentages anymore. Notice that after the whole frame failure, frame flex thing? Just want to throw that in there a little bit. So when you look at the two sides, you got the Josh the RV nerds, the Miles RVs, the RV Hunter. You got a bunch of these guys who talk nothing but how absolutely everything is innovative, great, and perfect, and they've done everything right. Oh my God, they finally did this. Oh my God, they finally did that. It's like the hook. It's a hook. Hooks you in. Oh, they've never built a trailer like that before? Well, yeah, they have for the last 15 freaking years. But because Josh or Miles or Matt or any of these guys say, oh my God, they finally did it right this time. They didn't really change anything except for maybe the color. Oh yeah, I saw that floor plan before. Another brand built it like 5 years ago and have continued to build it. But of course, you know what R&D stands for in the RV industry, right? Research and duplicate. So everybody wants to talk about how bad quality is. Everybody wants to blame companies like Lippert for providing cheap Chinese steel and cheap Chinese this and cheap Chinese that. Okay, so let's put that to the test for a minute. So you got companies that have high quality RVs that cost a lot of money. Intech RV being one of them. One of the best built travel trailers in the industry. Like what, 80% Lippert components. They don't have problems. Northwood Manufacturing, Outdoors RV. They use a lot of Lippert or Lippert subsidiary products. and components. Do you hear about them having massive problems? No. Do they not have problems? Of course, every manufacturer has little things here and there. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So is it really the components that Lippert is providing, or is it the actual way that some of these RVs are built? Maybe it's how much money you're spending on the RV. Maybe because you only can afford $150 to $160 a month and someone sold you a bill of goods on a Coleman 17B. I've seen that a lot, guys. That's not sarcasm. I have seen that story so many times in my email. I just don't talk about it much because I, the number one reason I don't talk about it that much is because I get a bunch of people that are attacking me over something that doesn't matter. But I've seen a bunch of my emails where somebody was sold a 13-foot Coleman or 17-foot Coleman for $13,000 or $11,000, and all of a sudden the floor is falling apart. They were told that they could live in it by the Camping World salesperson. So you thought you could buy a 17-foot entry-level travel trailer that at the time had no furnace, side-mounted wall AC, one window, two cabinets, and bunk beds that have a 200-pound capacity, and a small little bathroom with a cheap toilet. And you thought you could live in that. So you go into a Springdale 1800 BH, a Forest River Salem 154 RB. You go into some of these entry level $12.99, $13.99, $14.99 trailers. Even the stuff I used to sell on the manufacturing side, Coachman Clipper and Forest River Viking. Did I ever tell people they could live in stuff like that? No. They're camping trailers. They're first-time trailers for people that have never camped before. It gets them off the ground. Go out for 2 or 3 days. Go enjoy your family. Go build memories. Does that mean everything's going to be perfect? No. But do you really think that a $13,000 brand new trailer can be lived in? Go, if you think I'm joking, go look at the Quora and Reddit posts for the last 6 years. Just type in Coleman 17B. I guarantee you that if you counted everything, I bet you over a quarter of the complaints online that RVs are junk come from stuff that is so entry level that people decided they want to live in them. Now, I'm not saying, before everybody attacks me, I'm not telling you there aren't Armageddon level problems. I'm not telling you that there isn't lemon law problems. I'm not telling you that everything's built perfectly. God, no, I would never tell you that. But I will tell you that the middle is a lot bigger than each side of the pendulum. I was taught in this industry when I first got into it. It was very different than timeshare. So I sold timeshare in Mexico forever, okay? And one of the things I learned when I came to the RV industry in sales was they called it the bell curve. 10% of the people are going to be the angels. They're going to pay your full asking price on anything, full sale price on anything. They're going to be the easiest people to ever deal with. 10% of the people are going to be Satan, the devils. They're going to want you to lose money. You can't make a profit. If you do make a profit, you're an asshole. You can never make them happy. And they said, what we really are looking for is the 80%, the people in the middle, that they just want a good deal on a trailer or a motorhome. They don't want to feel like they got screwed up the poop chute, and they want to feel like they're being taken care of. I'm like, you know how many of the 80% I've met that have just enjoyed the camping life, enjoyed the RV life? I've been selling trailers and motorhomes for now 15 years. In 15 years, I've had 2 people have their rigs bought back. I've sold thousands of new and used RVs, and 2 were bought back. One by the factory and one by the dealer. 15 years. That's a pretty good percentage. I think a lot of people go into this industry and go into this community uneducated. They either go with the mindset that everything's a pile of shit or everything's great. I think that they forget that Brand ambassadors and paid personalities sell the concept of what we do. And we forget to go talk to the people who are actually doing it that aren't paid to do it. I looked up the stat the other day. Over 5.6 million new RVs have been sold in the last 11 years. 5.6 million RVs new have been sold in 11 years. If you go on YouTube, Reddit, Quora, all this stuff that has lasted or has been around for longer than 11 years, and you go backward and you go see all the Armageddon level problems, I guarantee you, it's in the single digits. And I guarantee you the stuff that was over the single digits, that probably curved the bell towards the higher single digit percentages, are probably out of business. Damon, some of the later Fleetwood stuff before Rev Group bought it, Sunnybrook before Winnebago bought it, Grand Design through all the frame failure, frame flex stuff. Probably, I bet you what else probably would skew that number is Workhorse Chassis when they went out of the industry, because all the brake caliper problems, all the electrical problems that Chevy chassis was having. Before National and Beaver kind of messed up the whole Monaco flow. I bet you it's still, with all those major kind of events that happen in the RV industry, I guarantee you it's still in the single digits. So let's say that. Let's say that out of 5.6 million, let's use a number like 56,000 rigs over the last 11 years were trash, junk, garbage. That still means over 5 million people were happy with their purchase. Imagine that. By the way, out of the 5.6 million, 1.45 million was built from middle of 2020 to the end of 2022. Over 20% of the rigs were built in a 2.5-year period. And I bet you most of the problems probably came from there. Not all of them, but I bet you a lot of them. I think it's why a lot of people will say, stay away from COVID units. Well, when they're used, they've already gone through the bug problems. I've sold plenty of COVID units used and nobody's had an issue. Not a major one, at least. Little things here and there that warranties cover, extended warranties, things of that nature. Small little fix-its, turn a wrench or turn a freaking screwdriver type of stuff. So I think one of the biggest problems that we have is there's too much of this back and forth of good, bad, good, bad. There's too much of that thing. And again, guys like me are boring. Guys like me bore people to death because we give you education, not emotion, not emotional damage. We don't give you any of that. Liz gives you emotional highs and lows. Oh, we got to be pissed off at Tiffin today. Oh, we got to be mad at Newmar today. Oh, we got to be pissed off at everybody today. Oh, a salesperson from XYZ dealership says they're all put together like shit. A person that's no longer in the industry, that's mad at the dealership that they worked at, that sued the dealership for harassment, that lost and dropped the lawsuit. Oh my God, I got an insider in XYZ manufacturer. He delivers the water cooler and empty and full water bottles to them, but he's an insider. There's a lot of that goes on because it's an emotional swing. The people I actually talk to, they're real people in the industry. I just don't tell you who they are because they don't want to be told who they are. It's funny because I'll get phone calls from people and they say, hey, guess what happened? And I'm like, I name what happened. They go, God, who do you talk to? I'm like, if I told you, man, you wouldn't be around anymore. So look, in all reality, there's a lot of people that are very happy with their purchase. Okay. My job here and how I feel is I need to educate people. That's what this channel is all about. Do I make a little bit of money? Yeah, I make $400 to $500 a month in ad revenue to do this. Am I ever going to be as big as Josh or as big as Liz? Hell no, because I'm in the middle. I'm never going to be a big YouTuber. It will never happen because once people get the education, they're gone. I don't give you an emotional roller coaster ride. Just not how I'm built. That's why I'm building out 4 or 5 other YouTube channels so that way I can have a little bit of a passive income in different things, mostly entertainment. But this isn't going to be that. My final thought today is I've had a lot of emails from people over the last 5 years, and 2 of them stick out that were recent. In both emails, the customer bought Brinkley's. And these folks have made comments in my video asking questions. One of the biggest questions that one of them emailed me before they bought their Brinkley is they asked, what do you think the chances are that the actual sale goes through? That Brinkley actually sells to Thor. What do you think the chances of that happening? And I said, really high. But I told them, I want you to think about this. Okay. Let's say that Brinkley completes the sale at the end of the year to Thor. That doesn't mean Bob Martin, the CEO of Thor Industries, is going to run Brinkley. More than likely, it's going to be Nate or one of those guys. They're independently run companies. And I'm using this example that Heartland bought Cruiser, not Thor. Heartland bought Cruiser. Keystone bought Dutchman, not Thor. So even though Keystone is under the Thor umbrella, and even though the subsidiary companies are under the Thor umbrella, Brinkley, if they are sold to Thor, is going to go and be ran as an independent company. Will Thor have input? Probably. But the key components are the people that are already running it. They would continue to run it until whatever their contract is. So I told that to both these people. Both these people still bought a Brinkley and thanked me for the information. So I get sick and tired of hearing all this 3-page paragraph bullshit from people that you're just trying to prevent Brinkley from being successful, or Grand Design, or Northwood Manufacturing, or Forest River, or whoever. That's not true. But people need to know what they're getting into. You're buying into a company that has investors that are known to pump up a company's value and sell it off for maximum profit. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people have a problem with that. I don't. It happens all the time in all kinds of industries. You have a small little guy that comes up with a new battery system and some bigger company comes in and writes them a big fat fucking check and they move on to the next project. Those are entrepreneurs. So they can call me a blowhard. They can call me all the names they want. They can sit in their fancy little cars with their millions of dollars in the bank and call this little guy all kinds of names and try to get other YouTubers to talk shit about me. You can do that all you want. But at the end of the day, you're an entrepreneur. And there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with being a business owner. There's nothing wrong with being an investor. There's nothing wrong with being a capitalist. So until next time.